Welcome to the today's session, and I invite Dr. Gaurang to read the biodata of Dr. Madhuri Kanitkar, Vice Chancellor of Maharashtra University of Health Sciences. Over to you, Gaurang.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay Bedi, sir. Good evening, everyone. It is my honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Madhuri Kanitkar, Madam. Lieutenant General Dr. Madhuri Kanitkar, PVSM, AVSM, BSM, presently holds the appointment of Honorable Vice Chancellor of the Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, Nashik. She was the only third woman to become a three-star general in the Army Medical Corps. A gold medalist throughout her academic career, including the President Gold Medal at AFMC. She has served for nearly 39 years in the Army. A pediatric nephrologist, she went on to hold key administrative appointments, including Dean of AFMC, Major General for Northern Command during elaboration of Article 370, and Deputy Chief of Integrated Defense Staff Medical during COVID 19, always leading from the front. Turning challenges to opportunities. Kanirkar madam takes pride in scaling heights as a soldier, doctor, a teacher, while being a mother, wife, and a daughter. Not one to rest, she is presently transforming medical education in Maharashtra and serves on the Prime Minister's Science, Technology, Innovation Advisory Council as and an advisor to the National Medical Commission. Thank you, ma'am, on behalf of MEU, and we look forward to your pearls of wisdom today. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. I'll start sharing my screen.
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Visible. Thank you so much. First of all, I thank the MEU for inviting me to deliver this oration. And I start with my salutations to Dr. Rita Sood, in whose memory we all have gathered today. She's been an excellent teacher, par excellence, and responsible for CMET. And the story is, unending, the contribution that he has done. And it's a great honor on her behalf to deliver this talk today. If we achieved everything we were capable of, we would astound ourselves, unquote Thomas Edison. With that in mind, I have chosen the topic of innovating education for smarter millennial healers, a replicable university-led modernization in medical education. And I'm grateful to Dr. Bedi, who helped me put this. So the outline of my presentation would be introduction of the Maharashtra University of Health Sciences, medical education and healthcare as it stands today, millennial healthcare professionals and patients that we would see with time to come. And with that in mind, the initiatives taken at MUHS towards undergraduate, postgraduate, faculty development, research innovation, special initiatives towards Mission Viksit Bharat. Finally, education has to align itself with national initiatives and future plans as envisaged by the country to become a Vishwaguru. So the university was established by an act in 1998, and all the health science colleges across Maharashtra are affiliated today. Whereas in 1998, we had 145. At the Silver Jubilee, which was celebrated last year, now we have over 614 colleges. The Silver Jubilee became a real turning point because that was how all of us got together to get our act together and transform the university. And we were very lucky to have some very, very distinguished people visit us and can give us their good wishes. So what are the challenges of healthcare? I think if when I delved on it, I thought the medical profession is ailing today. And what can we do? And that I would like to quote Martin Luther King, a little amended, that as suffering mounts, I realize that there are two ways in which to respond: either react with bitterness or seek to transform with a creative force. I decided to follow the latter course because it's easy to have difficulties, challenges, but changing those into opportunities, I think, is a way forward that we all can do. So if the medical profession is ailing, What are the complaints? We all know. People are losing faith in the medical profession, and it is sad to see doctors either taken to court or victims of physical violence. Out of pocket expenses are mounting, and holistic care has become but a dream. As a pediatric nephrologist, I feel it's going in a from CKD 1 to CKD 4 and 5. And what is the past history? We inherited an excellent public health was envisaged as a tiered system as a report given by the Bhore Committee in 1945, and we were supposed to, after independence, develop them in such a way. The Indian systems of medicine could not get integrated adequately, so we lost out on what we had. We couldn't develop a tiered system, and therefore we moved from healthcare to disease cure. Death of the family doctor. Today, everyone yearns for that healing touch. Primary public health did not deliver as envisaged. The private healthcare grew initially through nursing homes, which now in large metro and tier 2 cities is becoming a corporate business model. And those hospitals, though they give state-of-the-art treatment, not everyone can access it, and not everyone feels satisfied at the end of it. And insurance sector is being used and abused. If we look at further examination through investigations, we see a changing disease spectrum. Look, and this is sort of the last in NHFS of 2016, but if you look at it subsequently, it's further worsening to have respiratory infections, ischemic, non-communicable diseases, and look how diabetes has jumped up. And a recent survey of 24 said that 56% of India's disease burden is due to unhealthy diet. I mean, if that is a change, this thing, are we training it enough? So therefore, the diagnosis, I think, is a multi-system failure. It's not just one system, and therefore needs a multi-pronged treatment, which has to begin with changes in medical education and research, and then, of course, have all the rest of the aspects. But more important also it's a huge problem of burnout and stress. Every day we read some of our colleagues at the receiving end of this healthcare professionals burnout. And there's enough evidence that medical education impacts healthcare. I've put in couple of recent articles. This article, A Powerful Medical Education Improve Health, concludes with challenges to hospitals, health systems, and medical education organizations that are responsible for producing physicians who are expected to deliver safe, effective, and cost-conscious healthcare. The second article from Clinical Teachings describes the importance of engaging the community for health education, which we are trying to do through family adoption, etc. And a recent article of 23, which describes the problems associated with today's patients with multiple comorbidities, requiring a generalist approach for better care as against a focused super specialist approach. If when we done a survey which we did in one of the military hospitals, the problem came up was that every patient now is deciding and suffers from an cystitis, whether he should be a gastroenterologist or a neurologist or a cardiologist. Looking at the patient as a whole is becoming rare. And we educationists are responsible for making of a doctor. Are we doing enough? And what does the NEP 2020, which is not very vocal on medical education, however, it does say that the new vision priorities for millennial health professionals to graduate as responsible health practitioners, researchers, innovators, academicians, and future leaders. The question is, who will do it? If we just see today in this race of acquiring degrees, where there's a loop of information to knowledge, where Gen Z is today still at the undergraduate, the millennial is at the postgraduate, and this loop continues. And wisdom of the teacher comes in a little bit too late, that we need holistic care. We need to understand the millennial healthcare professional and the patient. For teachers who learned it yesterday, practicing today, and training the future is often quoted. So what are patients of the future looking at? They're less likely to have a primary care doctor because everyone's specializing and super specializing. and they can do a lot of Google for medical advice instead of seeing a doctor. We are all aware of the hazards of Google Baba. When it comes to the newer generation healthcare workers, they're burnt out, they're stressed out. They find work pressure, toxic work environment, bad boss, and a whole lot of things. They look out for a better work-life balance with fewer working hours, and they value digital connections to the patients. So the education needs to keep this in mind when it delivers it. So we need to first start by breaking the silos to improve health. And this is a diagram that I thought conveys that health education is occurring in medical colleges. The best of research is occurring in labs, which are ICMR, DBT, CSIR, etc., where there are scientists. And public health is in the public hospitals, except for the tertiary care in colleges, the rest is. And in most states, the three, or at the national level, these three remain in silo, do not talk to each other. The research which is happening is not aligned to the medical colleges data, the public health, they do not have a tiered continuum. So therefore, tier 1 cities and large institutes of national importance are overburdened because everyone is reaching the tertiary care. So therefore, this would need a good governance and leadership among medical healthcare professionals. And I think the health universities have a big role to play. So this was the background with which we even did a survey that how do today's students learn? And we had response from about 1,024 because we picked up from the academic results 5 high performance colleges and 5 the lower performance colleges. And we see the median need score. Even if we did a correction for that, we found a common trend. And if we look at the learning mode, if you see, the preferred mode was a hybrid. And this was common whether it was high performing or low performing. Students today would like to have their theoretical classes, lectures available to them at their time, at their convenience in hybrid mode, and even use online videos. And coming to the college or hospital, they prefer to have OPD ward, patient encounters, and clinical postings. Overall quality of teaching, it's very heartening to see that whereas the high-performing colleges, more than half found it excellent or very good, it was average or poor. So teachers do make a huge impact on how the medical education is going. So with that in mind, what we thought at MUHS was ask not what others can do for me. And in that way, we took certain initiatives and we called it the 4P way. It started with doing a gap analysis with all stakeholders, the deputy registrars. We had about 400 people working in the university. There were some faculty members, old vice chancellors, old people who had worked with the Department of Medical Education. All were consulted, and after multiple iterations in the first 2 months after joining, we prepared a vision document with all stakeholders involved in it. And this was immediately in January 22 put up on our website, and it's easily available for everyone to follow and can be accessed. And in that, we started with a gap analysis, of which P1 was the problems. So the 4P way, the first was identifying the problems. But instead of just writing the problems, we looked at ways and means to solve them and created timelines, Gantt charts, and implementation roadmaps so that all of us were on a common platform to see the goals that we had to reach over the first 2 years, then subsequent, and the long-term goals. So it started with strengths and weaknesses as we all learned, and that we had a large number of colleges. Some of the best colleges in the country were affiliated to the university, but the biggest challenge was the increasing number of colleges with shortage of trained faculty and university becoming more of an examining and administration organization, just affiliations, inspections, which was not, there was no heart or soul in the university. So for bringing about a change, we went to the second P, and one, we felt that unless we change and feel proud about the place we belong to, we cannot change the processes so it started with the place, and the first year was spent on infrastructure with meticulous planning, financial management, using all the rules, regulations, and within the framework, and preparing, including the account code for the university, procurement manual, everything and infrastructure. And with the result, with good planning and everyone involved, whether it's the engineering department, the computer, everyone looked at it, our vision document. And therefore, infrastructure, we could achieve most of our targets within the first 2 years. So this is just a slide I'm showing. Like, for example, in the military, we learned boots on the ground. When I reached here, this were on the left, you see the state of the bungalows which were existing on campus. But because the campus was on the outskirts and in quite far from the city, and there was water shortage, there were multiple problems. And so subsequent vice chancellors had been staying outside, and all people came to work and went back. Having seen that, we took a decision that the VC would now stay in one of the bungalows. And I must admit that it was a fairly bold decision to take, looking at the conditions that the bungalows were. But probably the soldier and me felt that unless I do this, people won't trust me and believe. And leading from the front, it was important. So when they said that the place was infested with leopards and snakes, in lighter vein, the newly minted VC said, then it requires a tigress and she'll move on to the campus. And I'm very happy to say that today, all the bungalows, and this is today the garden of my own house, and all the bungalows, the controller of examiner has moved in, the registrar has moved in, and we are occupying all the available space within the campus. And this was something which was a totally barren hillside, was turned into a sensory garden and a Samvedana path, because this was something that the non-medical people, the registrars, the deputy registrars, all the people could relate to, of bringing about, and started developing a bonding with the place. And we today have a 5 senses garden. We can discuss this, where plantations have been done over 5,000 based on the theme, whether it's vision, smell, hearing, taste, which has the fruit orchards. This was a stone quarry which we've converted, and over a lot of efforts with everyone contributing to it, it slowly turned into a lake. When the water started draining out, we used simple 500 micron sheets, and the lower right corner is what the lake looks like today, with breeding fish inside it. The entire building had a makeover, and there were peacocks, so we gave it a peacock theme. We created central stores and procurement procedures, but most important, the 32 washrooms was the first in renovation did, so that everyone was comfortable. We had a student help desk developed as the first thing to keep him at the center, and had all the various packages displayed out. The Senate hall, the conference hall were made absolutely ready for video conferencing. The third P was the people. Nothing happens without the people, and down to the daily wage worker was a very important member of the family. So whether it was giving them coffee machines, giving them cards, machines with RFID cards, or giving a health coverage, insurance, a compulsory health checkup at our health center, refresher courses across the grades, not just the section officers, the clerks. And I'm very happy that this year, the officer level up to the assistant registrars would be going for an offsite to Goa, because to bring about a change, you need to think out of the box. And we started using our environment changes to have Vana Bhojans or Friday lunches out in the campus. This brought us together and developed a team spirit, and an ownership came in of the campus, so therefore we coined the term #MUHS Parivar. And it was only after that, in year 2 and 3 that we started moving towards the processes to improve academics and research. And we, again, in our vision document, we identified the areas There have been changes along the way because the faculty which came in brought in beautiful ideas, and we, as administrators, we tried to become facilitators to implement them for multidisciplinary research. Then there were projects like the Malegaon Magic, the Blossom, the Nasikal. We created chairs of excellence and we created professor emerituses at the molecular genetic lab, strengthening PhD program, and an MOU with other universities and research institutions formed the base of the processes. But then university had to prioritize. And therefore, in that of the so many wish lists, we thought we should design electives which are locally relevant, design multi-centric research which are community oriented. We created partnerships by creating an organization called Sangam, and I'm extremely happy that today the Chief Secretary of Maharashtra is part of Sangam, which is an acronym for Synergy of Academia, Networking with Government, Allied Health and Medical Professionals. So the Policy Department of IIT Mumbai, the secretaries, the Takimi Fellows, and MUHS partnership, we've developed this to have brainstorming sessions, and our community research projects are facilitated by whether it's the collector, commissioner, tribal commissioner. So they give us the problems and we try to address them through academic quality. Promoting activities for all-round development of not just students, but also leadership roles for faculty, giving a equity of education by creating our own LMS and digital courses across colleges with enhanced learning opportunities. And we started looking at initiatives to reduce mental stress. And while forming these, the national initiatives which were leveraged by MUHS were the National Education Policy of 2020. We thought we should look at the multiple entry, though it was not compulsory, but we thought why not look at these good ideas of multiple entry, multiple executive courses, the ABC for our fellowship courses, skill courses through a degree plus program, the integrated course in family medicine and integrated research. And for the future millennium, we gave importance to the National Digital Health Mission by we are setting up our Department of Digital Health, Data Science for Research, courses for digital health, and mental health was made a mission. I think it's becoming too heavy and I thought we need a break. So I thought I'll share the importance of punctuation in this, and this was a humor in uniform. So I want to share a snippet in lighter vein. My husband and we both served in the armed forces for almost 39 years, of which 36 years were where we both wore the uniform. He superannuated and retired 4 years before me, of which 12 years were spent together and 24 years because of the service requirements and whatever, we have a staying apart. So very often colleagues, in a very well-meaning way would say, doesn't the armed forces have a policy for spouse co-location? Because both of us were from a civilian background. So our family and friends wouldn't understand that why must we keep being posted? But we found humor in that. And we said, yes, there is that spouses will be posted together as far as possible. But unfortunately, for us, it probably is read as spouses will be posted together as far as possible. So that's how we landed up being further and further away. And this is the importance of punctuation, and communication, which we do teach our students. So with that, we'll go to the next part, which is what are the initiatives and how did we start? So to begin, since the idea was to bring integration and quality improvement across paths, it was felt that having everyone represented on our bodies was an excellent idea. So whereas I came from a very allopathic background, my pro-vice chancellor had been dean at one of the government Ayurveda colleges. The Department of Ayush has 3 full-time faculty. The research department is headed by a dental faculty professor. The Department of Student Welfare, we have the homeopathy faculty. The IMETT has medical physiotherapy nursing. The research policy for multidisciplinary research was created. And we looked at PhD programs where we can bring about a change through improving the quality through compulsory pre-courses, doctoral committees which were integrated, and co-guides across faculty. And we, as per the rules, we had an ombudsman appointed who had been an ex-director of medical education and research. So with that, we started full, and this was now year 3. So we wanted to get into academics and research. We started with initiatives for the undergraduate students first, and it has been team effort with the controller of examination and all faculty across our board of studies. The contribution is tremendous. I just get to present it, but blueprints were created for the competency based for physiotherapy. First, we started with MBBS curriculum, went on to dental curriculum, then the physiotherapy, and now the nursing. So all these were created, copyrighted, and shared with the respective councils and across colleges. We also looked at online evaluation, and with scanning and evaluation done in an immediate manner with transparency, we are able to declare small batch results within 2 days of conducting the exam, and for the larger batches, 7 to 10 days, which has made possible holding a supply immediately and trying to mainstream most of our students. Like I mentioned, using technology, we tried for 2 faculties a digital library, and for the moment our tender is ready, and 1st Jan it will be across pathies where students will be accessing all books and journals through their mobile, whether he's located in a large city or in Chandrapur or one of the remote areas colleges. We also had our LMS, which we have termed as e-Prabodhini, and on that we have put 2 things. One is the foundation course in digital health, which university has, as a first measure, made it compulsory for all interns to have acquire these skills, and there are 13 modules competency based with the help of Koita Foundation and IIT Mumbai Digital Center. IMETT, Dr. Payal Bansal took the lead, and a lot of people joined in, subject matter experts, including a virtual lab to train them on all the government schemes, whether it's PMJ, e-Sushrut, 10-bed ICU, all these things are available, with including a virtual computer lab. We've started another initiative, which is the Degree Plus program, so that students wanting to add to their skilling. This is in a hybrid mode where there are standard lectures, certain practicals they can perform, get their skills from their seniors and faculty, and upload it and get credits, and they can take them all onto the academic bank of credits. It's a matter of great pride that our DHFC course was launched by the National Health Authority through an MOU by the Minister of Health and Family Welfare. And more than important now, the IGOT has made us into a knowledge partner, and this 13 modules are being tweaked to follow their guidelines and will be available to all healthcare professionals free of cost across the country. And the next course, the DHFCN for nurses, is underway, and by somewhere mid of next year, we should be ready for launching it across, and INC would be also adopting it for all their students. So this is something which was innovated, make in the university, but for the entire nation. Another innovative program was the SIP. SIP, we all know, is a structured investment plan or a systematic investment plan. But here we thought at the university, let's make it our plan, systematic investment plan for the future. So we give, using the strength of the electives, we permit them in their summer vacation based on learner needs as well as available courses across institutions of national repute, laboratories, and what are the mentors able to give. We match them with students based on merit. First year, 24 institutions, 144 students. This year, we could have 80 institutions and more than 700 students, and they were mentored. They have a project, they have a report, and there were even patents which were created, and a total ignited young minds came to us. We had an experiment with mixed reality and are soon setting up the mixed reality lab at a state health university. The student council, which comes into our Senate, we thought we have to prepare them for future leadership roles. We had an election oath-taking ceremony under the Director Student Welfare. And this workshop was conducted to instill leadership. A whole day, they were told their roles, responsibilities, and authority that they could exercise. To keep holistic development of students, every university does have them. We have our own Spandan, but what we did was took it to the regional centers. So whereas 700, 800 students could participate, this year near 3,000 students participated. We've created, as through the Prime Minister's Science, Technology, Innovation Council, we had prepared a app called Mental Health Normalcy Augmentation System called Manas. So today, more than 3,000 of our students have downloaded it and are using for mental wellness, for time management or social connectedness or sleep hygiene. We have a lot of them through gaming. And a dedicated counselor runs workshops twice, once when a new batch joins in and a second time where all are invited region-wise to join in. We're also training of the trainers across regions so that teachers are sensitized to it. Another innovation has been the Kulaguru Ka Katta, in which the university reaches out region-wise. We've done 4 regions. We are now next week going to Latur. And all the representative students from across the colleges come in, whereas about 300-400 students rest log in. And we interact with them, and we are bringing out a paper on how much we got through their feedback and the implemented changes. A case, an example being where one of the male students got up and said, why is the Savitri Bai Phule given only to girls? And we said, why not? Or some of the students who said a scholarship was not yet included in our Dhanvantri Yojana was for people of Maharashtra, but now with online central counseling, we have people from other states. So we went back to the management, to the academic council, and have changed our policy. So this is the importance of having a full multi-source feedback while doing for the students to make them physically strong and mentally fit. This year, we had a marathon with 1,800 participants, and the Vice Chancellor also ran a 5-kilometer. Also, this mental helpline for students called Mani Samvad. We have a full-time counselor who's taking a lot of initiatives. And just yesterday, we completed a workshop on theatre of the oppressed for postgraduates who are keen on conducting it. So with that, we come to initiatives for postgraduates. And I think the first thing was that the university had no college of its own, and therefore with government permissions. And it was a vision that Nasik wanted a government college, but under the university, we set up the Maharashtra Postgraduate Institute with affiliation and use of the civil hospital. And with 7 courses in the first year, now 7 more courses have been added, creating near 90 seats in MDMS. And this year, the government has launched its own government medical college with a 50-seat intake. We are also looking at an accelerated clinical, the SIP was a big success. So this year we worked out a protocol called the ACE program. We have about 200 fellowship courses running across our premier colleges. We would let postgraduates permitted by their own specialists and own guides and deans, they may be permitted to take accelerated clinical experience in centers running specialized courses based on their own interest. We also had a town hall for the Maharashtra Association of Resident Doctors and keep a continuous conversation open with them, which helps them and us as to prevent unnecessary strikes. We also, for the first time, had a MUHS MARD conference where 600 residents came in and workshops were conducted, 25 each, multiple across those 3 days, besides giving them very common integrated lectures, preclinical, paraclinical, and clinical subject. They could present their papers, posters, and oral as also they could have an interaction and conduct what the NMC had made BLS and ACLS. And from that, we brought out a competency-based module. So therefore, colleges would now be having a standard BLS, ACLS for their postgraduate residents, observed by university, sending some other faculty member. The Ayush department did very well. We started an online clinical meeting to understand each other's, and we finished more than 50 episodes with more than 6,000 participants having benefited, where across pathies we try to understand a case problem and what is the best that can be achieved. Prakriti is our initiative at Panchakarma Rejuvenation and Kayakalp Research Unit and Training Initiative, which was inaugurated by the Secretary. And here we were surprised that even MBBS students came and wanted to understand this. So this year we even had that, and we had Dr. Kiran Bedi visiting it. We've created a choice-based credit system, which the NEP envisaged through our Degree Plus programs, which are all worked out. Credits have been worked out. And as and when it comes to the medical, they will already have these structured courses with their transcripts ready of what they've trained for. And this is being also standardized, all the 200 plus courses through workshops, faculty engagement by our IMATT, and our chair professor, Dr. Payal Bansal, led it. And now all ours are converted into competency-based, credit-based to give them 60 credits with the transcripts, what they are. And with that, we are now approaching NMC to convert them all into PDCC courses. The PhD scholars, to improve the quality, we made it compulsory for them to have, besides the advanced research methodology and good clinical practice, they could do either animal handling, molecular methods, and some other courses, drug standardization, so that they could have a better hands-on experience on methodology to be used in their research. We have optional brainstorming sessions and mentoring at the Ayush department, because maximum were from Ayurveda and homeopathy. A doctoral committee with interdisciplinary guides has been introduced, and all these we took through our border studies, academic council. The autonomy of the university was used to its best. We have also created a course for integrated family medicine education, and this is not a course in mixopathy. Whereas people with MBBS, BMS background we would not encourage them for therapeutics. But what we've done is created a curriculum for the 10 commonest, which would take care of 80 to 90% of our population.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so this was what we created for NICE. And for the faculty development initiatives, whereas the IMETT with full faculties running all the workshops, research methodology, BCME, CISP, they're working round the clock for all our colleges. We added some twist to it with the Women's Lift program, where 30 women were selected among 90 applications across pathies. And they had a 2 days hands-on workshop to prepare them for leadership and change. Focus group discussions and interactions with MUHS staff to understand the change, the 4P way, and they would, over the next 6 months, based on their own themes of choice, would be conducting a project. We have nominations for university faculty to workshops in leaderships and research, including 2 undergoing FEMA and 2 more who have applied. And they attend most of these workshops, which are held at the national level. So this was something fun, where the Women's Lift program, taken from the Melinda Gates Foundation's Women Lift program for other professionals outside. We had our own faculty members, starting with a walk around the campus, understanding the changes that were coming in, then huge number of discussions and lectures, first half. Second half, they quizzed. When the men sat there answering all their questions, whether it's the controller of examinations, the pro-VC, the registrar, all the deputy registrars, and they also had some fun at the Sula Vineyard. And with that in mind, we are planning a faculty development academy. So whereas faculty development was across pathies at MUHS since 2009, based on a need for training in administration expressed by the faculty from time to time, and also the need of IT and accelerated training, Plus, our affiliated institutions had increased 2.5 times. So, therefore, a multi-stakeholder need analysis for role-based competencies was conducted in 2023. Student, faculty, experts, all were involved. And the student survey was very heartening that results had paid off, that most of them thought the teaching was excellent, very good, but still it was of concern that a large chunk still felt fair or good. The students' feedback also said that some of the teachers, there were still teachers who never gave a feedback or assessed students properly. And the multi-stakeholder analysis from faculty showed that whereas senior resident wanted to learn the teaching, by the time they reached senior, they needed more of administrative skills. So this gap analysis was done. And based on that, 3-tier level 1, level 2, level 3, A and B, from junior faculty, senior faculty, administrative faculty, and deans and vice chancellors. So 4 groups have been created. And those ones I will come in a little later. The initiatives to improve research were taken mostly for community-based. So a lab of genetic research was set up where tests for cancer markers and congenital disease is conducted through CSR at very nominal costs. Research will be conducted and fellowship courses for scientists and technicians. So this is our Gene Health Lab. Drishti was created as a division of research in interdisciplinary science and healthcare and translational innovation. So we have a lot of these acronyms where we are conducting now large-scale multicentric projects on diabetes, osteoarthritis, anemia. The next 2 in line are antenatal care with Garbhasanskar and cognition problems in geriatrics and a multidisciplinary approach. We are also have now set up an incubator called Disha, which is giving direction to innovation and entrepreneurship, and it's called Disha because it's developing innovations in systems for healthcare association. And this is a Section 8 company, which we have just created with help from the Maharashtra State Innovation Society, which was funding other universities, but not the health university. This research has gone out to the community, and one of our largest has been the Blossom project with the help of the Tribal Commissioner, where 300 students, 22 teams over 1 year went out to 18 villages in the most remote parts of Gondia, Chandrapur, Nagpur, and all these places where they learned research methodology on the way and interacted with the tribals, have conducted a survey, and based on its findings, a white paper is being prepared. But keeping this background and with AIMS Nagpur, we are holding FIST, which is the first international symposium on tribal health, where we expect the President of India to come and inaugurate it. MOUs we've done across, and none of them are only on paper. They're either supporting an SIP or a research project or a data science project. So that is the way forward. We've set up chairs of excellence through our direction and through CSR funding, where we have for tribal health, cancer research, preventive cardiology, medical education, infectious disease, and we're thinking one for community ophthalmology. But I think what's important are some special initiatives for a Viksit Bharat, where we would like our students to learn the science of medicine, but practice the art of healing. So it's important to bring in various aspects of humanities from top down, from the university. So charity begins at home, and the national vision of Mission Life, we've incorporated in the campus. Today, we have a complete green campus with cleanliness drive. Every last Friday of the month, the entire staff walks out for Shramadan to clean it up. More than 5,000 trees have been planted. Drip irrigation, rainwater harvesting has been a success, where first year after the plantation, we needed 63 trailers of water. This year, we needed not a single one. We have solar panels and a complete plastic-free Mukt campus, cleaned up by the people, for the people, of the people. We've decentralized by regional centers have been, the infrastructure was needed fast forwarding. Those have been created. Sambhaji Nagar, the Heritage Bungalow in Pune hosts the Gene Health Lab. Airoli is going to have where the IIT and MUHS will have a MedTech hub. And we've created more than 1.5 lakh square feet of space constructed in the last 3 years. and the future is to become a Vishwaguru. And this is through India's first state-led network of centers of excellence, which is going to be a Section 8 company the government has permitted us, called Chakra. And Chakra is an acronym for Consortia of Health, Applied Knowledge and Research with Autonomy, where we'll take in government colleges and each one will come up as a center of excellence at the spoke. The network will have 3 tiers, which with the hub at MUHS, with the digital library, digital department, simulation lab, and these things which would be conducted or a research wing clinical trial unit. The regional centers would have the center of excellence nodes, and the medical institutions would be rejuvenated to take that forward. So they would be thematic specialized nodes, and timelines have been created. This has got the support of the Asian Development Bank. So this was envisaged in 4 phases over 5 years, but we are extremely happy that even phase 4 of making it self-sustaining, we've already got the sanctions and the AOA, MOA are ready with the MODD. And all the 3-4 phases we started before the construction can occur, work has started. And therefore, Faculty Development Academy, next tier, phase 1 is already BCME, but the level tier 3A curriculum is ready and will be launched sometime early next year. We have already procured the simulation lab equipment, AR, VR equipment by mid of next year. The tendering process is over. The digital learning studio, and we've already got the LMS. And since we'll have on IGOT, we've kept targets as to how many we will finish in the first year of operationalization. And even before it was formally launched, we've started work on all. The incubation center, our first call has had 20 healthcare professionals want to incubate with us. And the digital health center, as I already mentioned, the clinical trial unit has now created an SOP, which would become, with the help of Boston Consultancy Group, which will become the state policy for interdisciplinary clinical trials. And we are hoping to have Ikshana as a museum for wellness. So this is how the spokes would be. The first 4 are already in the making, combining the Gene Health Lab with BJ Medical College. We'll have for maternal and child health and a clinical genetic department. Public ophthalmology and geriatrics at Sambhaji Nagar. The AIMS, Nagpur and MUHS will run the Tribal Research and Training Center, and the data center, clinical epidemiology and data science at JJ, because the DMER is there. We also have taken GDC Mumbai on board to have a center of excellence for dental sciences, and all the others would come in by and by. Ikshana is an integrated knowledge for sustainable health awareness, which is going to be a first of its kind museum on wellness with an integrated approach. And the National Center for Science Museums, Kolkata, is on board. The DPR is ready, and the first phase should be ready by mid of next year. So with that, I think this is the family which has really, and I acknowledge the hashtag MUHS Parivar, which I had the honor to present before you what a team has done over the last 3 years. But I also must acknowledge the strength I got from the Armed Forces Medical Services, grounding and training me for the last 39 years of my service, my teachers, my students, my patients, and most important, my family. My salutations to them. Thank you so much. The bottom line is, whatever we do, we need to have a cup of tea, and the T stands for transparency, empowerment, and accountability. Jai Hind, and thank you very much for a patient hearing.
So, thank you, ma'am. It was excellent talk. It's a superlative talk, and we are very grateful to you. Since this is an oration and there are no questions in an oration, but offline, I think people will be interacting with you and we will share that with you. And we are proud to.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate and feel very honored to have got this opportunity to deliver this oration and share our experience.
Yes, and we are proud to bestow upon you the Rita Sood Memorial Oration. And along with this, based on your such a long history of contribution to medical education in the country, the Lifetime Achievement Award, we are sure the kind of energy you have, I think there will be a second round 10 years from now, but and India will have achieved a Vishwa Guru status by then, and we might have a Vishwa Guru Award at that time. So thank you very much. Thank you, friends.
Thank you so much.